Hello, it's Sandra Pike from Royal Page Atlantic and the Pike Group. And I was so excited with my last meeting with you, Mike, that I thought we talked about getting together again because there's so many programs that the public just don't know about. So before we continue, why not introduce yourself and then we'll get right into the meat of things.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Sandra, once again for inviting me. My name is Mike Caron. I'm the Credit Adjudication Manager for CUA, and I've been in this business for a long, long time. I'm not going to say, but been in the mortgage business for a long time. So, and I wear quite a few hats. Like I said before, real estate. I work with the real estate agents and work with the brokers as well. So.
Nice. So last week we talked about no down payment, which, is not just for first-time home buyers. It's there for anybody, essentially, with great credit. And now, you talked about when we get off the call that you have a Purchase Plus improvement. So what is a Purchase Plus improvement?
So it's a product that has become very popular in the last, quite popular in the last, I'm going to say 10 years. As you know, Sandra, there's a lot of beautiful homes out there that might be aging a little bit. They're older, they're good bones. They might be just dated still as people start to move out of those homes, and they resell those homes into the younger generation. So, and the younger generation is looking for certain aspects of a home and upgrades to a home. So they'll go in and take a look at a home. The prices of the properties are pretty good. They're in a great location, but they need to have some upgrades. So let's say, for instance, you got a $400,000 purchase. The major financial institutions will do a maximum of $40,000 or 20% of the purchase price on a Purchase Plus improvement. And that's the maximum. And they just do it on a one draw. So for instance, what they do, you buy the house, you get into the house, the extra $40,000 is placed with a lawyer in trust. They go in to complete whatever renovations they can do or they're asking to do with quotes and what have you. Once they're finished, they send the receipts off to the lawyer and the lawyer releases that money. So that's the way a Purchase Plus improvement works with a major financial institution. With CUA, we take it a little bit further. So let's say, for instance, you buy a house for $400,000 or even $300,000. And, you look at it and you say, okay, well, we got to rip up the carpets and we got to put in some new hardwood, and wouldn't it be nice to expand out the kitchen? Wouldn't it be nice to develop the basement a little bit more, whatever, bathrooms, so on and so forth. As you know, $40,000 or 20% of the purchase price wouldn't really go that far, right?
No.
So we'll take it. I've seen situations where there was somebody who bought, now this was before the craze of the market, they bought a beautiful little home in Fairview for $240,000 and put $150,000 into it. And we did that mortgage for them. It was a really nice little home. It was dated. We did that mortgage for them, and we did it on draws. So we don't have a limit. Now, the only thing that is, no, we don't have a limit. It can go as high as the value as possible. So this would be a high ratio mortgage because in most cases, people aren't going to have the equity for that. So the only difference is that when we do it through CMHC or Sagen, they'll either say, okay, well, no problem, provide all the quotes, and they'll look at the value today, and then they'll look at it as is. They may ask for an appraisal to get done, so they send out their own appraisers, and then they come back and say, yep, of course, the value will be met, and so they'll treat it like, if it was $300,000, they did $150,000, they'll treat it like a $450,000 purchase. So then we do the purchase, the 300,000, they go ahead and do the renovations, start the renovations, and then they'll call us generally as they get about 30% in, and of course they're looking for some money. We'll send the appraiser to make sure that the inspection is completed, and so we'll do a few inspections. If it's done through high ratio, there's no cost for the inspections. So we send the inspections and they come back and tell us, yeah, go ahead and advance a little bit more money, and then so on and so on until they're completed. And we'll do up to 4 draws on that. So in most cases, people are doing them within 2 because it's not a complete draw construction mortgage, but we can go up to 4 draws on that.
Okay, so just to reiterate that, so if I am say new construction, for example, if I'm doing a draw mortgage, I would have, an appraisal will have to go out every so often, and I'm paying for that. So you're
Yeah.
saying, with you, there is no charge to have the appraiser go out.
As long as it's
And
high ratio.
correct. And
Yep.
so I've been involved with, people who have purchased houses before and they wanted to do improvements. And before the house would have firmed up, they would have had to bring, their contractors to the house at that time and submit the receipt. So when is it decided, how much money you're going to give? Is it during the condition phase or is it after?
So that's a good question. So the vendor doesn't really care what you're doing. All they
No.
want to do is sell the house, right? So if they asked for 300,000, they got 300,000, you go through that contract. So what they do is they go through that contract, and the vendor is going to end up getting their 300,000 at that time. But during the conversation with the mortgage broker or with the financial institution, they say, well, look, I want to do $150,000 in renovations. So they'll have to organize with the vendor to be able to go back into the house, have somebody come in and do the estimations. Hopefully they just do it with one. If they do a lot of subcontractors, it gets a little bit more confusing, but they can do that. But if they do it with one contractor that will subcontract out after that, they get one tidy quote. They send it into the financial institution, to CUA, and we send it to the insurer, and then they go ahead and decide. In some cases, they don't do an appraisal at all, but they will do inspections after that. So, and they'll decide whether or not they're going to do the appraisal, or they'll just say yes. Sandra, I think you know that if you're doing kitchens, if you're doing bathrooms, of course you know this, and you're doing basements, that kind of stuff, it adds value. Now,
Yes.
if they decided that, okay, well, I have to do some work on the roof is cost to cure. So it's not necessarily going to add any value. So we'll advise the client to say, okay, well, we want to replace the roof, or we want to replace the back deck. We'll say, sure, you can do that, but it may not add as much value as if you were doing the kitchen, the bathroom, and the basement, that kind of stuff, or flooring. So, obviously the insurers know this as well. So if they see that the contract is to do kitchen, bathroom, basement, they'll say, okay, this is going to bring the value up significantly. And so sometimes they'll ask for an appraisal, like I said, and sometimes they won't. But they will do inspections after the fact if they come for draws.
So the 150,000 then is just added to your $400,000 mortgage. Would the rate be any higher because you're using a Purchase Plus, or it's just the same?
Same interest rate, just has to close within a certain period of time. So
now, when do you have to complete improvements by? Like, do you have 3 months, or especially now, like
that is a good question. So generally on a draw construction mortgage, like a regular draw construction, they have a year. We haven't really set a date. And in some cases, if they don't complete it, because we have some situations where they didn't complete everything and they just came back and they did a certain amount, but we just reset the mortgage at the same interest rate. So let's say, for instance, $300,000 purchase, $150,000 that they quoted, but they only do 100,000. So they come back and say, okay, we only did 100,000, we didn't do this, and so on. We just go back to the insurer. We tell them exactly what happened. They say, okay, no problem. We reset the mortgage and change the payment to a $400,000 mortgage. So generally, I would say they would do it within 3 months, I think is fair, just depending on how long it's going to take, or how much they're actually doing. So, it's not a complete rip down, obviously, and it's just doing some upgrades.
We call it lipstick.
Lipstick, exactly. Okay. So, and I think you will agree that if you ever lived in a house that is getting some lipstick applied while it's getting done, it can be a little bit difficult and miserable in some cases. So they want to get it done as quickly as possible.
Of course. Understand.
So, yeah.
Now, my other question is, so I come to you and I've used the No Money Down program, and I'm purchasing a house in Fairview that needs lipstick. Can I use 2 programs at the one time with CUA?
Yep, you can.
Really?
Yeah, we've done the no down payment, and a purchase plus improvement at the same time. So it just means that the no down payment is going to be based on what the purchase price is plus the additions that you're doing. So, and then the down payment is going to be based on that too.
If I'm correct, that your no down payment is like a point and a half more than what a regular mortgage rate would be.
That's right. So it would have to go into that interest rate versus the target rate of a purchase plus improvements, because now they're borrowing the down payment.
That's incredible. Like there's no reason. So again, if you look at especially, younger families, millennials who, they have great credit, but just again, saving up is so hard to do. And then maybe, the mortgage can only get them to 300,000. And anytime I'm bringing out a client who is in the $300,000 price point, I'm telling them, let's say 400, I'm telling them it's going to need work. So let's look at something that's 300,000 so you can put the work in, right? So it's a great program. And again, I said to my teammate this morning, none of these products are being spoke about enough. And I just think they're great additives for anyone who's here, because, there are still homes that you can get. We just listed one, or we're getting ready to list two actually, in the 349 price point. And both homes, we have one home that's going to be in Enfield. The other home is going to be in Lower Sackville. Both homes have been maintained, but the lipstick hasn't been added. So this would be a great opportunity for someone to use your program. And again, they don't have the money, but great credit, you can get them their mortgage. If they don't have the money to do the purchase plus improvements, you can get them in money, and it's up to 150. Like, so that's amazing.
Yeah, well, we can go even higher. We have gone higher. But, these are, I guess, thank you for the compliment. And what I'd like to say is this: CUA is flexible. So we've got very good programs that we put into place because they're differentiating. We don't always compete with the major financial institutions, but we have differentiating products that allow people to get in to homes a lot quicker and to get the home that they're looking for a lot quicker than they would normally. So these two programs, the no down payment and the purchase plus improvements, actually does that. And so we're pretty proud of that. And then, when you see our advertisements and those are true statements, like I said in our previous, those are true statements from individuals that basically say, if it wasn't for CUA, I wouldn't have been able to get into a house. So
I think it's what a wonderful opportunity, to get out from paying rent and to get into home ownership. And yes, it is a little bit more money, but at least you're building equity as opposed to renting, and the money is you're paying someone else's mortgage at that point.
Absolutely. It's funny, just before you came, we got together. I had one of our staff come in and talk to me about what their options were, and a young family, got a child, both working in that range that we were talking about last year, $100,000. And so I pointed out the no down payment product to him and what he could do and what his family could do. And he got excited. He get really excited.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he's really looking, and there's a lot of, he's a new immigrant, a relatively new immigrant. And there's a lot of new immigrants that are looking for these types of programs.
It's a great program. Absolutely. Yeah. I was thinking about that, but okay, wonderful. Well, I just want to thank you for your time once again today, and certainly great content and amazing information for people to know here locally what it is that the CUA can offer.
Great, thank you very much, Sandra.
You're welcome. Thank you.